Welcome, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hey, Janice. So good to see you. Hi, Melanie. Garangi. Hi. Marilyn. So happy you're here. Oh, so grateful to get to see you. Hi, Nushin. Hi, my old friend Joe. Dorita. Hi, beautiful. It's so awesome to have you here. Hi, Lucinda. Hi, Angel. Hi. Aw. Hi, Denise. You don't have to watch. It looks like you're driving, so you can just listen. So good to see you. Hi, Tracy. I'll just wait a few more moments while everyone joins.
Hello.
Hi, Flavia.
How are you?
Great. How are you?
Good.
Yay. Ready to dive in?
Yes, let's dive in.
Awesome. Nicole, Gosia, Katie. Hi, everyone. I'm just reading the comments. Please, everyone, share with us one word in the comments. Write one word of like what you're feeling right now in your day, and also right next to that word, where are you? Where in the world are you? So one word. Just check in with yourself. How are you feeling right now in this moment? And then where are you? Melanie is grateful in Florida. Crystal, tired. Peaceful. Gratitude. Full. Interested. Curious. Calm. Happy. Content. Peaceful. Helen, I'm coming to Boulder in a few weeks. Awakened. Flustered and grateful. Isn't it amazing how both can exist at the same time? We are such versatile beings. Amanda, my sister friend. Hi. Oh, I'm so happy to see you. Hi, Renee. Hi. Hi, Shara. I'm so happy that you've been coming to these classes. So grateful. Tatiana. Ashumi. Hi. Hi, everyone. Dehydrated. Nicole, before we start, go get yourself some water if you don't have any yet. Warm water is best. It's easy to be dehydrated in LA. Hi, Lisa. Gosh, I feel like we're all old friends now. So sweet. Hopeful, beautiful. Thankful, happy. All right, welcome, 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 everybody. Kelly, thank you for being here. Although you feel rushed, thank you for joining. Okay, so we'll start by just doing a short meditation to drop in and become present. And really arrive, open ourselves to receive whatever wisdom can really serve us in our lives right now. And then I'll briefly introduce myself, and then we'll dive into our class for today. And so wherever you are, if it's safe, you can go ahead and close your eyes. So of course not if you're driving and listening. And just bring your palms somewhere onto your body where you feel like it grounds you, it anchors you, and also maybe that area can use a little bit of loving attention, loving connection. So wherever your hands first go, just allow it to be. And then see if your belly can become a little bit softer, your lower back can relax. If your teeth are touching, you can lightly just soften your jaw, even relaxing your tongue away from the roof of your mouth. And so see if you can become soft. Your shoulders, your chest. And then wherever you are with your breath right now, go ahead and exhale completely. Draw your belly button back into your spine. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. On an inhale, fill your low belly, push it out. Mid belly, upper chest, shoulders a little bit more. And exhale, shoulders, mid belly, and empty. Again, inhale, low belly, push it out. Mid belly, upper chest, shoulders a little bit more when you think you're full. And exhale, shoulders, mid belly, and empty. So continue this rhythmic breath. Find your own pace with it. You may notice that when your breath becomes full and intentional, your mind becomes very present. Maybe for the first time today, your mind arrives in your body. So keep breathing very deeply, and I'm going to chant a prayer, a mantra. Man means mind, tra means free. And this mantra is meant to invite the presence, the grace of all of the great teachers of yoga and Ayurveda that have come before. Praying for their wisdom to flow through me, and also a prayer that your heart and your mind can be open to receive whatever it is that you're needing to hear today. So keep breathing and soften yourself to absorb these vibrations. Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavaidi Pashtutya Deshatarine Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhaira Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And as you're ready, you can gently open your eyes. And welcome back to the space. Did anybody's mind wander a little bit as I was chanting those mantras? Can I just see a show of hands? Did anybody notice themselves thinking about what they did earlier today, what might happen later? Yeah, what they're going to have for dinner tonight. Yeah. And so we all know that we have this voice inside of our head that's saying something about everything. And my sister always says something about everything and everything about something. That's our mind. So it's very, very powerful. The yogis, the great teachers of Ayurveda, also modern science and psychology, has said that the mind is so powerful that if we think of something clearly enough, if we think of something with enough attention and intention, our body actually can't tell the difference of whether it's real or not. And so that's why, has anybody ever watched a movie and cried? Or maybe like watched a movie and your heart starts beating really, really quickly if it's really action oriented? Yeah, it's like if we see something, if we hear something, if we smell something, if we taste something, it triggers the mind in a certain way, and then the body responds, whether or not it's happening to us or just happening in the world outside of us. And so the yogis, the great teachers have seen that it's very, very important, what's going on with our mind, because actually our mind is creating our entire experience of life. Has anybody woken up and just kind of been grumpy? Has anybody ever had that experience? You just wake up and for some reason life is just like blah. And then you find like literally like 10 million other reasons to like reinforce your grumpiness, like to validate why you should be grumpy. It's like because there's laundry and because there's dirt dishes in the sink and because it's raining outside, because all these things are a certain way, like it reinforces my grumpiness. But then we've all also had times in our life where we wake up and it's like we're wearing rose tinted glasses. It's like everything we see is beautiful. And even things that, maybe before would trigger us or make us feel grumpy, we can feel like, oh, I see the meaning in that. Like I can see how I can grow from that. Has anybody ever had that experience? Likely it's like maybe we got the promotion in work and we're just feeling really uplifted, or when we're in love, it's like we just feel really high about things. And so whatever the mind happens to be doing in any situation literally determines our entire experience of life. So that's how powerful our mind is. Whatever it happens to be saying in any given moment is what creates our experience of life. And so that's why so many of these ancient techniques of yoga and meditation and prayer are really meant to help us first simply understand the nature of our mind, the nature of our mind. First, to admit like, oh, I have a mind. There's this voice inside of my head, because a lot of people don't even know that they are not their mind. Even me sometimes, like, I think that I am my mind, and that's just kind of our predicament. Whatever my mind is saying totally controls my experience of life. And so the practice of yoga, the practice of meditation, the deeper practices of Ayurveda are really meant to help us understand the nature of our mind. There's this voice inside of our head that has something to say about everything. And I listen to it. I listen to it a lot. And that's what Ayurveda teaches is the root cause of all disease. I know many of you took my free Intro to Ayurveda class. Some of you took my 3-week course. But Ayurveda says that actually all disease begins in the mind, begins in the subtle realm of our mind. So through this workshop today, it's going to be a simple workshop, probably about 45 minutes or so. We're going to dive into really Ayurveda's approach to understanding the mind, Ayurveda's approach to psychology, really understanding how dis-ease begins in the mind, the predicament of the soul, how we begin to identify with the mind. And then we dive into, just briefly, yoga and Ayurveda's framework of how to become free from the bindings of our mind, so that we can actually exercise our free will. So we're not controlled by the mind. And then we'll have a space for questions and for comments and for reflections at the end. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and share this screen. And so again, all dis-ease begins in the mind. Ayurveda, there's a word for health. And this word is svasta, svasta. And it means health, but it actually, in a deeper way, it translates into being situated within the self, being situated within the soul, the truth of who I really am. And in my Intro to Ayurveda class, I explained how we live in a world that is made up of matter. This body is made up of matter. These earphones are made up of matter. This computer is made up of matter. This cup and this drink inside, it's made up of matter. Even this air all around us, it's just subtle matter. But there's something inside of this lump of matter that's different than this. And that's the soul. That's who we really are. We're this spark of life that gives consciousness to form. But because I live in a world that's made up of matter, because I live in a body that's made up of matter, I begin to think that I am matter, right? I begin to think that I am my body. I begin to think that I am my mind. And because I don't know who I really am, I don't know how to act. And so we begin to choose things in our life that we think will lead us to happiness, even though they distract us from it. And I've given the example of, eating 4 bowls of ice cream just because you want to taste it, or watching 2 hours of a show, and then because the next one's on, you just keep pressing next, even though you should go to sleep. And so we choose things that don't actually serve us in the long run just because we want to experience these things right now. But then we also avoid things that we know are good for us just because we don't feel like it. How many of us have ever avoided that yoga class because I just don't feel like it right now? Or eating the healthy food at the proper times because you just don't feel like it right now. And so we have these things called attachment and aversion that actually only exist in our mind. In Ayurveda, it's called raga and dvesha, attachment and aversion, based on our past experiences of life. So we move towards what we think will bring us pleasure. We avoid what we think will bring us pain. But the mind only knows the past. The mind only knows the past. And so we're basing our experience of this moment on our past experiences, on our past conditions. Our past experiences have built these belief systems that we begin to see through. And so really the foundation of this workshop is that because we've forgotten who we really are, we begin to identify with matter. And so the soul's journey, there's this picture here, Swami Prabhupada, who is an amazing teacher of Bhakti Yoga. He says the soul, who we really are, the animating force of this form, but also the body of any sentient being. There's a soul that gives life to form. The soul is pure. The soul is a spark of light. We emanate from the divine source. But just like a drop of pure water, when it falls from the sky and lands on the earth, that pure water gets covered. And so it gets filled with dust or murkiness, and you can no longer see the clarity of that water, the purity, the essence of that water. And so it said that yoga and Ayurveda, it's like filtering the water. It's not adding anything, but it's really the process of filtering that water so that we can remember who we really are, and so that we can live life from that deepest place. And not only choosing what I want now, what I want to avoid now based on my past experiences, but being able to show up in every moment in our life, choosing what actually serves, choosing what actually serves. And so the teachings of yoga and Ayurveda, they share that you are ancient, that the soul is ancient. The soul is ancient. You are ancient. The spark of life that is inside of your body is ancient, is eternal. We see that even Einstein says matter, it's neither created nor destroyed, but it's always changing. So everything material is affected by time, right? We can actually see time by its effect on matter. I can see time, like 1 year, I don't look so different after a year, but my son, 1 year, he looks like a completely different little person. I wouldn't be able to recognize him. So I can see time passing by how time affects matter. So matter is always changing. This body that you're in has changed so much from when you were an infant, a child, a teenager. But the soul, who you really are, never changes. And so the soul is ancient. And yoga and Ayurveda say that the soul, your soul, we have been lost in the material world, lost in matter, identifying with matter since time immemorial. We've been traveling from body to body to body, identifying with this form, identifying with this mind. And now we're coming upon these teachings to remember who we really are. Who am I really? Has anybody here ever felt lost? I felt lost before. Like, what is my purpose? What is my offering? What will actually make me happy? Yeah, it's something that we've all experienced before. Have we ever felt like unsupported in life or disconnected in life? It's something that I feel like not many people talk about, these things, but it's a shared human experience. It's this quest for who am I really? what is my purpose in life? Why am I here? And that's when we really begin to live, actually. And so we've been stuck in these cycles of identifying with matter. It's like the drop of pure consciousness has been covered. And what is it covered by? It's been covered by all of our past experiences, both the beauty, but also the trauma and the heartbreak. We begin to identify not only with these bodies, but also the roles that I play, the positions that I have. I begin to identify or get my self-value, my worth from the amount of money in my bank account, what other people think about me. And so I begin to connect my value, my worth, my happiness to this world outside of me, this world that's made of matter, but it's always changing. And so what does that assure? It means that if I link my happiness to something out there being a certain way, it's not going to last. It's going to change. And so where does real happiness lie? And anybody that's interested in Ayurveda, I know that we're all interested in, yes, being more healthy, but ultimately being more happy. Like that's really what we're all looking for. And not a happiness that is swayed by the circumstance, because a lot of times that's my experience of happiness. It's the world outside of me is the way that I want it to be, so I'm happy, right? It's like, he looked at me a certain way, so I'm happy. Or it's beautiful and sunny outside and I planned a picnic, so I'm happy. Or I got the raise, I got the promotion, fill in the blank. Something outside of me is the way that I want it to be, so I'm happy. Which means as soon as something outside of me is not the way I want it to be, if I'm not getting the amount of time, that I think I need in my life, I'm going to get stressed out. If he doesn't go out of his way to take off work, like I feel unsupported or unloved. And so a lot of my value, a lot of my self-worth, a lot of my experience of life is completely dictated by this external world that I actually have no control over. And so where do we begin to work? If it's not in controlling the world outside of me, has anybody ever tried to change the world outside of them, thinking that when I lose those 10 pounds, then I'll be happy? Has anybody ever done something like that? Yeah, totally. When I finally find that perfect relationship, then I'll be happy. When I move into that house, then I'll be happy. When I finally get that degree or that diploma, then I'll be happy. But the problem is, if we're listening to that voice in our head that thinks that happiness is somewhere else, someplace else, sometime else, then as soon as we get there, there's going to be something else, someplace else, sometime else. And so yoga and Ayurveda teach us that actually the happiness that we're seeking, it is inherent within the truth of who you really are. It is one of the qualities that is inherent within the nature of your soul. Ananda is the word that yoga gives us. And it said that this happiness, it's not caused by anything. It's not because something happened outside of me, which means it's not affected. It can't be changed as the world outside of us inevitably changes. And so the happiness that we're seeking is actually within. Then why don't we experience it all the time? If it's right here, why don't I experience it all the time? And then this is what yoga and Ayurveda say. It's because we're covered. It's like the raindrop that's fallen into the puddle. We've been covered and we've begun to identify with our past experiences. They've created what is called a samskara, or an impression, that actually limits us from actually experiencing our true self. So our inner reality creates our experience of life. And so I just wrote a book a few months ago. It was published called Ayurveda Mama. And I talk a lot in the beginning about preconception, then pregnancy, the birth experience, and also the postpartum window, because Ayurveda teaches that actually the soul enters into the mother's womb at the moment of conception. And so, of course, the food that mama eats is building the body, the tissues of this baby, but also anything that mama is seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, so anything that's coming in through mama's senses is also building the body, the energetic body of you when you were in your mama's womb. Also, the mama's emotions that she's experienced are building the emotional body of this little baby. And then once baby comes out into this world, the baby's environment, baby doesn't yet know itself as a separate little being because baby's just been inside of mama's belly, for 10 months. Baby comes out, and so baby experiences, I am my environment. And so depending on what's alive in that environment, if there's violence or stress, if there's joy and uplifting energy, the baby begins to build its sense of self based on baby's environment. And it's said that from those very, very early days, our foundational belief systems are developed. And so the baby learns either this world is safe, if it's a loving, caring environment, if they're getting their basic needs met, if mama is nearby, if mama feels calm and loved and cared for. That's why Ayurveda really focuses on nourishing mama during those postpartum days, because baby's nervous system is directly affected by mama's nervous system. Or maybe, foundationally, the baby learns that this world is not safe because the environment is very unpredictable or very loud, or there's a lot of people moving in and out, or there's maybe arguing or chaos and their needs aren't being met. And so belief systems begin to imprint themselves onto the soul from the moment of conception based on the environment that mama's in and based on that baby's environment. So whatever past experiences we've had, if we haven't processed them, if we haven't just allowed them to move through us, Yoga and Ayurveda teach what happens is they actually begin to store themselves in our body. And so the mind, it's very subtle, but Ayurveda says all disease begins in the mind. And so it starts in a subtle realm of thought. But has anybody here ever had a thought that triggers an emotion? Has anybody here ever thought of something sad and then you become very sad, or thought of something, time in life that was very joyful and all of a sudden you experience joy? So this is the holistic model of care that Ayurveda offers, that our mind affects our emotions. Has anybody ever had an emotion that you can literally feel in your body? Like maybe heartache that literally affects how the energy is moving in your heart. Or maybe nervousness that literally affects your physiology, affects your belly or your digestion. And so our emotions affect our body. And so you can't separate one from the other. And so whatever emotion we experience, whatever thoughts we have, if we don't allow ourselves to process them, to integrate them, has anybody ever felt the urge to cry but not cried? Felt the urge to scream but not scream? And so what we don't allow to move through us, because emotion, I don't remember where I learned this, but like emotion, it's energy in motion, it's energy that wants to move. But oftentimes, because of our childhood, because of our life experience, we've learned that certain emotions are acceptable and certain emotions are not. We should be happy all the time. And if I'm angry, then people are going to judge me. Or anger maybe means that people get hurt and things get destroyed. And so anger is not okay. And maybe if you're sad and you were going to cry, but you're like, no, boys don't cry. Or, whatever belief system was imprinted on you from your past experiences, if we're not aware of them, then they're still there. And we really live our life kind of imprisoned by our past belief systems. And so Ayurveda and yoga, the real process is to become aware of what belief systems are actually limiting my experience of life, become aware of my past experiences that are still very alive in my current reality, but maybe not true, maybe not real. And so here I just wrote on this slide, kind of the process of how our past experiences can create first a belief system. And so the belief system comes from our past experience, which then triggers an emotional response to a current experience that reminds us of the past. And based on that emotional response, we act. And so an example of this that was just so obvious, and I think a big growing point for me, it was about 9 years ago. And again, like this happens every single day for me. And so, the more we understand the mind, we can see how this process unravels in our day-to-day life. But I remember when I first moved to New York, I was just getting out of a relationship. And it was a really hard relationship. It was a relationship where maybe somebody here has experienced, it was like high highs and low lows. He was cheating on me. But I really wanted to make it work, but then he kept lying to me. And so it was a relationship where it was really, really, really hard to trust. It was really hard to trust. And so I moved to New York, got out of that relationship, and then got into a new relationship with who is now my husband. But I remember when, my husband would be out working and he would be, half an hour late from when he said he was going to be home. And in my mind, because of my past experiences, I had this belief system that if somebody isn't home when they say they're going to be home, he must be cheating on me. Because of my past experience, I give meaning to what's happening right now. Just again, I'll say that. Based on my past experience, I give meaning to what's happening now. And so the situation was simple. He's not home when he said he was going to be home. Based on my past experience, he must be cheating on me. He must be with another woman. And so, of course, that creates an emotional experience, doesn't it? Like if that's the thought, that's going to create a very specific emotional response in my body. I all of a sudden feel fear or frustrated or angry or whatever the emotion is. And then maybe the action is like when he comes home, I get really, really angry. And I say, where have you been? Why didn't you call me? Or maybe if the pattern that I took on was to withdraw, maybe he comes home and I just don't speak to him and I go in my room and I kind of ignore him. And so based on our experience, we all have certain coping mechanisms. Based on our beliefs, we cope in certain ways that help us to somehow deal with reality. And so when we become aware that I'm reacting to this moment, not based on what's real now, but based on my past experience of life, if we can just become aware in the moment, then and only then do we have an opportunity to choose, how do I want to respond? How do I want to respond? And so this is the pinnacle to healing. This is the simplicity, but also the depth of healing. It's the practice of becoming aware. Because if we're not present, then literally our entire life, we're moving forward, seeing, experiencing through the lens of our past experience, reacting based on our past experiences, making choices in this moment based on what's happened before. But if I can become present, which means if I can take a deep breath, if I can become aware, then I can actually see things as they are. Rather than through the lens of how I've been conditioned, I can enter into this present moment, see things as they are, and then act in a way that's actually connected to what's real, rather than how I've been conditioned in my past. And this is the only way that we can actually exercise our free will. Otherwise, we're literally simply moving forward in our life based on our past experiences. So how do I want to show up? Who do I want to be in this moment, in this experience? Yoga and Ayurveda teach us that we are meant to be growing. We're meant to be growing in our life. And every moment, life gives us an opportunity to grow. And so has anybody here ever felt triggered? Yeah, like every day. 200 times, you know? And so life, like you don't have to go out and seek opportunities to grow. Literally, life every day gives you opportunities to grow. And it's in the moment where you feel triggered by something. Because when you're triggered, why? Like something outside of me is what it is, but for some reason, I'm not able to allow it to be. There's a part of me that feels that this is not okay. And so we want to enter into the mood and really the mantra, life is happening for me, not to me. And this is, if we can carry that mood and have that mantra going in our mind, then we will be growing in our life. Like that alone, if you can apply that, you will be growing in your life. So anytime we get triggered, it's because we've built a wall or a belief system that is not allowing life to be as it is. Again, we think that if it were different, then I'd be happy. Again, which is our predicament that we talked about in the beginning. If it were sunny outside, then I'd be happy. If he looked at me a different way, then I'd be happy. If he wanted something different, if he wanted what I wanted, then I'd be happy. It's again placing our experience of happiness on something outside of us being a certain way in order for us to experience the happiness that is our birthright, that is already inherent within. And so instead of blaming the situation outside of us for our unhappiness, I do it all the time. Literally, like every other day, I blame my husband because I'm not happy. You know, if he were doing something different, then I'd be happy. Like just today, I felt overwhelmed because like my son got up later. My whole day was thrown off. He wanted to take the car somewhere. And like, I was totally fine. Like I was like flowing with my day. But as soon as I saw him, I was like, oh, if he just gave me more time this morning, then I'd be happy. Then I'd be okay right now. Like, and so all of a sudden, like it's easier to blame the situation than it is to say, what's going on inside of me? You know, what belief system is coming up? What limiting belief is coming up that's making me feel like life is not okay right now? You know, because the reality is I have so much to be grateful for in my life. So what belief system is coming up inside of me that's making me feel whatever it is, anxious, depressed, disconnected, unsuccessful, unworthy, like whatever it is that we're feeling, what belief system is coming up inside of me? It's not you. It's not the situation. It's not the circumstance. It's not the rain. Like what's going on inside of me? And so that's something that you can ask yourself, like next time you become triggered. And like that's like the easiest way. Like when you're in that experience of like feeling flustered or anxious or disconnected, what am I believing right now? What belief system is playing that's making me feel this way? And I know for me, like one of my biggest limiting beliefs is like when I check in, it's this belief of I don't have enough time. I don't have enough time. And so it makes me feel a certain way. And then you can rewrite it. You know, this is a beautiful practice if you want to do this, is write down 5 of your limiting beliefs. And I highly suggest, even just right after this class, write down 5 limiting beliefs. And then next to that in a separate column, what's actually true? Because if I'm in that limiting belief, I don't have enough time and I'm identifying with it, it's creating this emotional reaction and it's making me feel a certain way. That's just my experience of life. I start to blame my husband. I start to blame my situation. But when I can take responsibility, what's going on inside of me? Oh, like I'm running this belief that I don't have enough time. What's actually true? I have a lot of time. What am I doing with my time? So what's actually true? And that can be a very, very powerful practice that when you begin to run those limiting beliefs, I'm not good enough. I don't have enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not whatever enough, that creates a certain emotional response. What's actually true? And then how do I want to show up? How do I want to show up? And so once we notice the pattern, the limiting belief, once we can acknowledge our inner experience rather than blame the external situation, We can choose how to respond in the moment rather than being moved by our past experiences, rather than acting out from a triggered place. Has anybody ever done something when they're triggered, or said something when they're triggered and they're like, oh God, I really shouldn't have said that. I really shouldn't have done that. Yeah. And so once you become aware, we can move from a deeper place. We can live from a deeper place. And so awareness is the first step to healing. These deeper belief systems that run these different cycles or patterns of emotion. But then Ayurveda says, if not healed, will eventually cause dis-ease in the body. And so modern medicine, just tries to treat the body. But Ayurveda actually says if we don't address these deeper things, we don't address the emotions, the heart, the mind, the belief system, then the physical symptom will keep showing itself. Because any disease in the body, it's actually there to help us heal in a deeper way. It's actually there to help us heal in a deeper way. What is this stomach ache trying to tell me? What are these migraines here to show me? What is this, chronic knee inflammation? There's always something deeper that's happening. And that's why Ayurveda says, this is the real work of healing. This is the real work of healing. And so when we do this work, and in this way, we can actually experience all of our emotions as an ally. It's like if emotion is coming up, it's here to support us. And that life becomes our friend. It's not something that we struggle against, but it's something that we work with. And many of you have probably experienced this, that what we perceive as challenges they're actually the gateways to our greatest growth. They can be the gateways to our greatest growth if we take that stance of what's going on inside of me. What's going on inside of me? And so this is where the chakras come in. And for me, I was on the route to become a doctor. I was in, my bachelor's degree in pre-medicine. And once I started learning about the chakras, I was taking yoga as an elective. This is when I actually changed my major because it just blew my mind. The chakra system just blew my mind. And I really began to experience that life is happening for me to support my healing. And when I can open up to that reality, has anybody ever had an experience of life where it just felt like, where you just felt like life is happening for me? Like, how did you run into that person right after you were speaking about them, but you haven't talked to them in like 20 years? It's like life is giving you these perfect situations for you to heal. And so I started to really experience that when I began to dive into the chakras. And really, the chakras are this beautiful framework to support us in our healing. The chakras, simply put, they're 7 centers along our spinal column that start at the base of our spine and go all the way up to the crown of our head. And how I like to approach the chakra system is through the lens of Ayurvedic psychology and yoga psychology, that each chakra, each one of these energy centers, there's 7 of them, are like a gateway or a window that show us how we perceive or experience life. So for example, the first chakra right here, it's our physical reality. And so it's literally, what do I embody now based on my past experiences? What do I hold in my body now based on my past experiences in life? So again, what belief systems? What trauma? What joy? What's alive in my body now because of my past? Then as we dive into the work of the first chakra, we begin to become aware of these belief patterns, these emotional patterns. And we can choose. Once there's awareness, we can choose what actually serves. What am I ready to let go of? What am I ready to dissolve? So I can step into my life and actually inhabit my body, come into my body in a way that feels really alive. And if somebody's experienced trauma in their body, then it's very easy to feel disconnected from the body. And it shows up in a way of either overindulgence or neglect. And so as we heal our relationship with our body, we begin to go deeper into other layers of our being. The second chakra is our emotional experience of life, which is a whole realm of it's really our sensate experience. It's our relationship to pleasure, our ability to experience pleasure through our senses, or what comes up that keeps us, are there limiting beliefs that keep us from actually experiencing joy, that keep us from being able to step into our life in a way that feels alive and empowering and connected. The third chakra, which is at our solar plexus, is all about our relationship to our power. It's our relationship to, it's like our ego identity, but not in a bad way. It's who we've become. And oftentimes at a certain point in our life, we begin to act in certain ways because it's what other people expect of us, or what other people would approve of. And so we've become a certain way, not because that's who we authentically are, but it's what was expected from the outside world. And then we dive into the fourth chakra, which is our relational identity. It's how we exist in relationship. And of course, we have so many experiences from our past that either support us in connecting authentically in a very loving way, accepting ourselves and others unconditionally, or not. And so we can explore the realm of the heart and what's keeping us from really being open to loving, genuine, supportive relationships. The fifth chakra is our creative identity. And so literally how we create in the world through our words, through our thoughts, through our actions, and what blockages are actually keeping us from stepping into the life of purpose that we're really meant to be showing up in, that we're meant to be living. Our archetypal identity is our third eye chakra. And so that's being able to see a larger scope and being able to enter into our life, being guided by deeper wisdom and deeper knowing that is always there. And the seventh chakra is our spiritual connection, our connection to grace, our connection to God, our connection to the universe. And so what I loved about the chakra system is that oftentimes you think to be spiritual, you just have to really live all these lofty ideas, but it's shown us that you can have all these lofty ideas, but if you don't really embody them, it's like, I really feel like these days, the spiritual path, it's the process of becoming more human, becoming more real with what's actually alive in my body, and that God isn't something out there somewhere I'll experience sometime, but it's something that can be alive in our life right now. Right now. And that the work is here in our bodies. How do we embody these deep spiritual truths so that we can actually show up in our life in a way that's meaningful, in a way that deeply serves, which means moving, allowing, it's again that tiny drop of water that's been covered, because we've all had experiences in our life that have blocked us, that have made us feel unworthy, that have made us feel undervalued, that has made us feel like we're not enough, that have blocked us creatively, emotionally, that have made us feel like we can't be enough because somebody else is more than we are. We've all had these experiences. And so the work of working, with the chakra system, working with yoga and Ayurveda psychology is really the work of understanding those barriers that keep us from being connected to our soul and our soul's purpose, so that we can heal those areas, again, holistic healing, so we can show up in our life in a way that actually serves. And so this is a quote by Anodea Judith, who's written a beautiful book about the chakras. It's not the meaning of life that we seek, but our aliveness. once we have that, the meaning of life is obvious. And I love this because it again reminds me of the holistic approach to healing that Ayurveda offers. It's again healing of the mind, the emotions, our energetic body, and the physical body, ultimately, so that we can connect to our spirit and so that we can live life from that deepest place. And so I'll open up for questions and comments. I love to hear reflections. Reflections are simply something that you heard, that you resonated with, something that you heard that stood out to you, because I feel like when we repeat something, it really kind of comes in a deeper way. And then I also want to share with you some upcoming things that I have going on, in the hopes that we can all meet like this on the regular. And so first, let's have some reflections, maybe 2 reflections, just something that you heard that you appreciated. You're welcome to unmute. Anybody?
Hey Krishna.
Hi.
My name's Garangi. I'm from Louisiana at the moment.
Hi, Garangi.
And I just want to thank you so much for having this. And I know you said a small thing about how sometimes when you talk about someone and you meet them after like 20 years, it's kind of like life is giving you the perfect situations to heal. And I feel like that was very much this workshop for me, because I kind of just happened upon it. And you touched on so many things that I've been struggling with. And one of the main things that I think I'll take away from this workshop was that life is happening for me and not to me. I never really thought of that before. And I don't want to jump the gun, but I feel like it just helped me so instantly with a lot of things that I've been struggling with. So I think just repeating that and remembering that is really helpful. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I have goosebumps.
So thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Garangi. Thank you so much. And I love that, like, you're having that experience of like, wow, like this workshop is exactly where I'm meant to be. Because it's easy to feel that when it feels like that, you know, but the reality and what yoga and Ayurveda teach us is every single moment that is unfolding in front of us is exactly what's meant to be happening. And so it's like to get these little glimpses of like, wow, I can feel Krishna's grace and his presence and his support in my life right now. It helps us to remember it in moments when it's more challenging, right? In moments when it feels like the whole world is moving against me, nothing is working out right. It's like, how can we kind of lean back and trust somehow this is happening for me, not to me? And then that's where our healing is. Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you so much for being here. So grateful to be connected. One more reflection. And then any questions, please begin to post them in the comments.
I can say a reflection. Hi, everyone. I'm Amanda. I'm usually in Brooklyn. I'm currently in New Jersey, though. And Garangi, I loved what you said, especially about life happening for you and not to you. So I think my biggest takeaway here is just the remembering. And Dee, you know that we've talked about a lot of this so many times, but it just never gets old. I can literally study all of this every day and it never gets old, and it becomes part of my life more and more as I study it, as opposed to like learning it as like intellectually. It's more like learning it through the soul and really implementing it daily.
Truth. Yeah. Thank you so much, Amanda. That's the way it is with yoga and Ayurveda. It's like we can literally watch the same recording of a class over and over again and get something new every time, because it just goes deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. So thank you for sharing that. It's so beautiful. Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you.
All right, so it doesn't look like any questions are coming through. So I'll go ahead and share. On the right side, that's all ways to contact me. I'm active almost daily on my Instagram, and I try to share things about what we're talking about too. I think my main purpose right now in life is to help you feel like you are not alone. That we're all on the journey together, and of course having very different experiences, but also I think that we are alike more than we are different. And so I feel like that's kind of the message that's coming through to me and that I'm hoping to share with you. My email is there. Most of you received an email from me already, and so if you have any questions, feel free to email me there. My book is Ayurveda Mama, and my website is a sister science, so you can see all of our upcoming goodness there. But the one I'm really excited to share with this group, just because you sign up for this workshop, so I know that you will be interested in Ayurveda Psychology, which is a 3-part journey, and it's really a journey of diving into the chakras and actually doing the work. And so we spend time with each chakra, and we really dive into how these things are alive in your life, what limiting belief systems, what past experiences, what has happened before that is limiting or blocking myself from experiencing my potential in life and actually living from that deepest place in every moment. And so we actually do the work together over this 3-part course. Each session is an hour and a half, and we'll go through the whole system together. And usually my 3-part courses are $295, but for all of you, I'm offering a discount of just $100 if you want to do it, if you feel inspired, for you to sign up. If you sign up by tomorrow night, just $100 to go on that 3-part journey with me. And I'll send you all a follow-up email with a discount code and everything. If you go on the website, the discount code is freedom. So I can just tell you that right now, it's freedom. And I'll just be so excited to journey with you in that deeper way, of course, with a smaller group of people in this, so that we can dive into our past experiences together. And then Soul Space, I know so many of you are already a part of, which I'm just so excited about. It's our online community, which it's a membership platform. It's just $33 a month. And it's weekly yoga and meditation with me, weekly wisdom sessions with my husband, weekly community prayer space. We'll do monthly talks on relationship, monthly breathwork sessions, monthly soul sessions, which is just coming together and talking about the different qualities of the soul and how that can become more alive in our life. And so it's really meant to build community, to come together in spaces like this on a regular basis, so that we can grow together. I know, one thing to be true is that we can walk the spiritual path alone, but it becomes much more fun when we do it together. And so that's really what Soul Space is meant to provide, a space where we can come together on the regular and grow together. And so I'll also add a link to that on the website. And actually just came to me, I'll offer you a $22 membership. I'll make that available for you guys if you want to join by tomorrow night as well. So that'll be just a monthly membership of $22 for all of that goodness every week. And so please join Soul Space. Let's connect to our souls together. Let's live that deeper life. I'm going to go ahead and stop the share. And Francis is here too. Hi, beautiful Francis. I'm just reading Renee, I do not regret it at all, because I feel like Ayurveda, it's the deepest medicine that I ever wish to offer myself and my family, and also offer the world. I feel like it's the wisdom that Western medicine could never touch on. Renee asked, do I ever regret not becoming a doctor? And so I feel like Ayurveda provides real healing, the real healing that the world really needs, more than just the physical aspect. Both are important, of course, but for me, I'm very clear that this is my path and my offering. And when Western doctors can integrate Ayurveda, we've had a lot of doctors actually do our trainings. It's beautiful. It's amazing. Fatima, thank you for this amazing workshop. How do you truly achieve happiness or remain detached when the external situation is deeply upsetting? Phew, it's a beautiful question. There's a book called The Untethered Soul that I would highly recommend. It's by Michael Singer. And healing is a process. Healing is a process. It's us showing up moment to moment to moment to moment with the tools, with the tools of understanding the mind, understanding the emotions, allowing them to move instead of blocking them. And then also understanding the nature of the soul, who we really are, and then having the guidance and the support to keep coming back to that reality. But even the medicine of life is happening for me, not resisting reality, not resisting what is potent medicine in itself. Oh, thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Talia. Thank you, Gosha. All right, looks like there's no more questions. Thank you all so much for your presence, for your interest in learning and diving deeper and connecting in community. It brings me so much joy to get to serve you in this way. And so, I hope to journey deeper with you, or even if it's just my next free class, whenever that comes up, please keep coming. I love nothing more than being with you like this, and then also in person one day, maybe in India. Some of you are coming to India with me in January. Sending all of my love, and we'll be connecting soon. I'll send you all a follow-up email tonight. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, sweet souls.